What team were you a part of?
I was a part of Haiti Abroad 2019.
Haiti Abroad 2019 team.
2019.
Haiti semester abroad for 2019.
What was a highlight of your trip?
I would say a highlight of my trip was just living with a lot of other girls. I'm not used to living with that many girls. I have brothers, so I thought it was really fun just to spend time with them and traveling. And we also spent a lot of time like scuba diving, so it was fun living on an island with a bunch of other of my friends.
Well, there was a lot of highlights. I loved going to the ocean and swimming in the water with everyone. We got to go snorkeling, and it was really fun to just be, I don't know, the water temperature was like perfect, and it was just very fun to just get away for a little while and just kind of enjoy God's creation outside.
The highlight of my trip was definitely getting to go on the Saturday morning walks, just up through the mountains or through the town and like the little, to just see their little like markets that they had and all what they're doing in the mornings.
There's so many highlights, it's really hard to pick one. I love the clinical experience and the way that we were able to interact with the Haitian community through that. I loved getting to hang out with the boys at the gate. I loved church there, and I loved the Saturdays that we did with the girls in the community as well.
How was it living with a bunch of other girls?
I thought it was fun. There were definitely challenges. I felt like that we kind of had two groups just because we were separated for clinical, but it was so fun at night just to spend time together and like laugh and play so many games. But there was also challenges with it too.
It was so fun. So our team we got really close really fast, I feel like. And we did everything together. We would like go outside and tan. We would take showers together with bathing suits on. But no, it was really fun. Like, we definitely bonded, and I feel like without my team, the experience would not have been the same.
It really made me grow as a person and just learn that I love being in community with others.
I honestly was intimidated by it at first, like even just living in a dorm setting, knowing that there's a lot of female emotion, estrogen that's involved with a team like that, and then putting on stressors like intense heat and cultural setting that you're not familiar with. It was pretty intimidating going into it, but honestly it's been one of the greatest gifts. Like, I'm still really close friends with most of those girls to this day, and it honestly has just been a true gift from God of sisterly love and friendship in Him.
What exactly was clinical like?
For our clinical, we had two groups. So we would separate, and one group would go to the hospital that was just like right down the pathway, and we would do our maternal clinical there and watch labor and deliveries and just help with those whenever way we could. And then there also was a group that would help at a vaccine clinic for our pediatrics clinical.
Clinical was crazy. It was so awesome because we could go in the middle of the night. So if we got calls to help deliver a baby, we could just wake up whenever. So we were pretty much on call. And it was great how sometimes we would go and they would call us while we were in class or something. And our teacher was so amazing because she wanted us to get the experience. So she would just let us go and we can make up the work later. And so just seeing the way that they did things was very different and at times challenging, but it was very eye-opening, and it just taught me a lot. Like, every single interview I go into, I always talk about my experience in Haiti because, I don't know, it was very different than anything I've ever seen before.
Clinical was a lot of fun. We got to go out and do little medical missions. Every once in a while we got to go do vaccine clinics, and we went to the hospital and was able to work alongside the nurses and talk to the doctors. We got to go to a lot of surgeries and help with those and watch births, and it was just a lot of fun.
So there's the Haitian compound, or the Wesleyan compound that we lived on, and then the Haitian hospital that are connected to each other. So we were actually able to like go back and forth outside of clinical. We couldn't do any clinical skills, obviously, but we're still able to go see patients and things like that we had seen earlier in the day, which was just such an amazing opportunity. And then when we were actually in clinical, our clinical instructor would be there with two translators as well. So usually we were split between the maternal ward and the pediatrics ward. and so we'd each have like a translator on each ward, and then our clinical instructor would come in between, and Dr. Bob, one of the missionaries, was usually around for us to like ask questions to as well, and then became really good friends with some of the Haitian nursing students as well as some of the Haitian nurses there. So all of their documentation is done in French, so it's very necessary to have a translator to even just have basic understanding of like what's going on with the patient. So it was super great that that resource was provided to us.
What kind of things did you get to do in clinical?
I got to help deliver a baby. I like caught it as it came out. And then I also got to help a lot with the C-sections. We saw so many C-sections. And then we gave vaccines at the vaccine clinic and just played with babies basically all day.
We got to deliver a lot of babies. It was really fun. We were able to even give vaccines, which at our age in like sophomore year of nursing school, you're not supposed to be giving shots or any medication, but they proved that we could give vaccines, which was very different. And so we went to a vaccine clinic and we were all able to give vaccines, which I felt like was just a good experience to have early on, and it made me a lot less afraid to give any kind of medications through a shot.
To do a lot of skills that you wouldn't normally get to do in the United States, just because of the opportunities that were available. So we got to have like on-call nights where they would like call from the hospital, and whoever's room was on call would get to go and like watch the delivery or watch the C-section or the trauma that was coming in, like whatever happened. So that was a really unique experience that was available to us as well.
What was your favorite part of the trip?
I think my favorite part of the trip, we volunteered at like a youth club, kind of like a boys and girls club type thing, every week. And I think that was my favorite part, just spending time with kids in the community and getting to know them.
Okay, I can't say that I had a favorite part. If I'm being honest, I don't have a favorite part. But I loved whenever we would get together. We would have Friday night fun nights, and we just had some really funny, crazy stories that happened. I don't know. We just really bonded as a team on Friday nights, and it was just really cool to hear everyone's stories, and everyone was able to give their own testimonies, and it was just a very special time that I just feel like you don't really get anywhere else.
My favorite part definitely is snorkeling. We went like every Saturday or Sunday out on the boat and got to swim in the ocean and snorkel, and it was just so many memories and so much fun.
I loved the clinical experience. It definitely pushed me to learn more Creole quickly, because I was not communicating if I wasn't communicating in Creole, because no one speaks English really. And so it was amazing to get to make those kind of connections with the moms, just being able to be with them throughout that delivery process. They would let us stay after clinical if we wanted to. And then we also got to interact with several surgical teams that came down from the US and from Canada, and got to be a part of that as well, which was incredible. But just also loved so many things. Like there was boys at the gate who would give us little Creole lessons, and I loved getting to go out on the boat and to experience the beauty that God has created in the Caribbean, and getting to find sand dollars and starfish, and getting to see the coral reefs and all kinds of cool stuff with that as well.
What did the spiritual aspect of the trip look like?
I think it was a very pivotal moment in my faith. Living in another country and just being out of my comfort zone like stretched me in a lot of ways spiritually that I wasn't prepared for. But I'm so thankful for it. We had like testimony nights every Wednesday, and it was just an awesome opportunity for us to be vulnerable with each other and to grow and like pray over each other.
The spiritual aspect was very interesting, because I feel like going into the trip, I felt like I needed to minister to the people there, and I felt like that I was going to be like showing Jesus love and showing Jesus light. But after going there, the experience was the exact opposite almost. I felt like they were so welcoming and so loving. On Sundays at church, the church services would go like 2 hours or 2.5 hours. And we would be dancing together, singing together, and at that point, it didn't matter what language you spoke. It didn't matter like your specific religion. We were all just worshiping God together as brothers and sisters, and it was a spiritual experience that I will never ever forget.
We definitely grew I feel like as a group and like individually, spiritually so much, especially having to lean on each other, having to leave, and then even after we came back, I feel like God really grew us all in just the aspect of trusting Him and just really like being thankful for being safe, but also being able to learn how to be more prayerful for others and the people in Haiti.
We got to go and visit a different church, Haitian church, every time we were there in the morning. And then at night we would do expat church, which is basically just white people church. And then on Wednesdays we did a Bible study with just us girls who were on the team. So all of that was amazing. I loved getting to go to Haitian church. I was intimidated by it at first because all of their services are in Creole and French. And so I was concerned about the language barrier, but it honestly was one of my favorite parts of the whole trip, like just being able to sing and rejoice with them. And it really just didn't matter, the language barrier, because their heart for Jesus just transcended all words. And they would ask us to sing a song. So Johnny had taught us several Haitian songs that we could pick one and join the church in worship through that. So we would go to the front and sing it. And I was teaching Shelly, who's the director of study abroad nursing here, and saying, I don't think I can do this. Like, they're so amazing. Their worship is so incredible. And she was like, oh, don't even compare. Like, Haitian kids come out of the womb being able to sing harmony, and just felt like that was so true. So their worship was amazing, and we'd always have all these kiddos on top of us in the middle of service, which was super fun to get to be a part of as well, and just so welcomed into their community. It was truly amazing. And then Expat Church is what happened in the evening, where Bob and Marcia and Brittany, another one of the missionaries who was there, led that. And it was really just a time of prayer and to get to sing in English and maybe understand a little better what we were actually singing. And then a time to either have testimony or study of the Word, there was varying experiences with what that looked like. And then on Wednesday nights, we went through the book of 1 Corinthians as a group together. And it was just a time to come together as a community and kind of just talk about how we had seen God work throughout our week so far, and a time to just be quiet in each other's presence before Him. So that was a wonderful part of our spiritual experience there as well.
Would you recommend this trip to someone else?
Yes, I would definitely recommend this trip to somebody else. It was fun, and it's definitely a different type of culture, but it's also nice because it's not super far away from home, so you still feel like you're kind of close to America, but it is like very different. I think it's just an awesome opportunity to travel and learn and like grow in so many ways.
Yes, of course I would recommend this trip to somebody else. It was crazy because when I had originally applied, I was not planning to ever go abroad, and I was not planning to go somewhere third world. Like, I was gonna go somewhere like big and nice, like Spain or Italy. And so Elena actually recommended that I apply, and she was like, yeah, this sounds like such a great opportunity, I'm applying. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And then it just was like on my heart forever to apply. And I was like, maybe I'll just take the chance. I'll apply, I'll see where it leads me. And I applied and I got an interview, and I was like, okay, I'll interview and I'll see what happens. It was definitely a true calling for sure. Like, I have never felt called to anything more than this trip, and it grew me a lot. So I'm happy I applied. So yes, I'd recommend it to anyone.
I definitely would 100%. Everyone should sign up for it.
Absolutely. There is so much that you can gain from experience outside of your own culture. I learned so much about the United States, and when they say like fish in water, like you just don't even know what is part of your culture. It's so true until you get an outside perspective. That's so true as well. And it allows us to see a greater picture of who our God is. Like, He created the Haitian people and the Zambian people and the Dominican people every bit as much as He created us. And so being able to interact with them gives us a fuller picture of who God is and who we are in relationship to our God. So there was so many experiences. Like, I got to work with a dental clinic. I never would have been able to do that here. We got to have on-call nights, which meant like the hospital would just call us, and we would get to go to the hospital for like delivery or surgical opportunity or whatever was going on at that time. If something interesting was happening, so that was another unique experience to study abroad. and getting to interact with a new language, and there's just so many experiences that Ivy is wonderful, but they just can't provide because it's all of our own culture, and so getting to step outside of that is a truly amazing experience. So 10 out of 10 recommended to anyone who's able to go.
Bonsoir Haiti!